So this is room 137, and of course, another guitar change. Now we're on to a 7-string.
That's right.
And what I really dig about the riff on this one is like you start with almost a Pantera-like feel, and then you bring it right back to Dream Theater as you get right into it.
Yeah, I mean, it's all about the groove with this one.
And it's a groove.
It's all about the groove. And by the way, this guitar is pretty spectacular, huh?
Yes.
You can't tell what color it actually is.
Well, the funny thing is, before we were just talking, I walked by you before, and it's like, oh, it's a purple guitar, and then, oh, no, it's blue. So that's a very cool.
This is our kinetic blue Majesty, and like you said, it's a 7-string. So
awesome.
The 7-string has a really big role on the new record. There's quite a few 7-string songs on the record.
Now, how did you sort of decide like how you were going to employ that? Like you're saying, wow, I got to put more 7-string in, or the riffs sort of dictate that?
Yeah, sometimes it's like the range of the song. Like there's one song that's primarily in standard and in E, again, very Rush-like. It's called S2N, but then it has a section of it that kind of, just because John plays a 5-string bass, 6-string bass, he's able to go down below E and start to pick up some low Ds and Bs within a riff.
Right.
So I want to be able to do that same thing. So I'll choose a 7-string because I have the extended range to be able to play the riffs. Other times it's a key choice and it's a heaviness choice. In this case, the song is really groove oriented. It just screamed 7-string.
Yeah.
We were talking about before the DiMarzio pickups. These are the new ones in the new Majesties. And they just have this throaty sound to it. They speak, you know, it sounds like a roaring, throaty thing.
It's just got such a, like, to me, such a growl. And then you combine that with that particular groovy, that groove riff that you got going on, and it really, it's just, it sounds amazing.
And it just like, it screamed play 7-string on this song.
Yes, exactly.
So there's a couple of songs on the record where they're very groove-centric, and we're doing some sort of feels that we don't typically do in Dream Theater. And primarily it's kind of like the shuffle and the swing feels. So there's another song, bonus track on the record called Viper King, almost has it's actually a drop A tuning, but the idea is like this almost Van Halen, that kind of vibe.
Exactly.
Which is more of a shuffle. And this song is more of like a triplet swing thing. And it's also in an odd time signature.
Yeah.
So it's like a swing in 7.
Swing in 7.
I guess the best way to wrap your head around the feel of it is at this tempo to kind of think of triplets first of all.
Okay.
Right. So. That's the kind of underlying sort of chug. Right. And then if you omit the middle 8th note of that triplet figure, it goes from. And immediately.
Now you're in Roadhouse Blues.
Roadhouse Blues is my go-to. How to describe that to somebody.
That's so cool.
So, now, the feel of this song is a little faster.
Right.
But so that's really important. That is, if you don't have that feel of the triplet swing, it's not gonna, it's not gonna have that same grooviness factor to it.
And plus, it's a really great riff. I mean, it's just simple, and then and added to that shuffle, and bringing it down the key, it just really it just sounds huge.
Yeah.
That's the thing.
Again, playing something that has that kind of powerful groove on a 7-string, like there's nothing like it.
Yeah, amazing.
Now, part of it also, we talked about the feel, we talked about the time signature. It isn't 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 2. The other thing is the tonality of it, because it has a dark tonality. It's not bluesy like I was playing the Viper King bonus track. It's not Van Halen bluesy. It's dark.
Yeah.
So how do you get that dark sound? It's kind of like scale choice it comes down to. So things like half steps, tritones, minor thirds, those are all those key notes And to me, there's no better way to get to that place quickly than to use like a diminished type of scale. So the tonality of this riff is based on a half step, whole step diminished scale.
Interesting. Okay.
All right. So the tonality.
Right.
That's where it's coming from. So. Right. So you notice with that kind of cadence over here.
Yeah.
It's that half step thing that gives it that darker, more evil sound.
Yeah.
If I play that same thing in a more like, minor scale.
Yeah, it totally changes the mood of it.
Whole mood.
Yeah.
I did it more bluesy. Whatever.
Yeah.
But in this case, that half step, whole step diminished. Is what's giving it that sound.
Cool, and almost a Middle Eastern type of
deal
too. It's really kind of
exactly.
cool. Yeah.
I love that. I kind of gravitate towards those types of scales. And then the other thing about it, to get like a really heavy sound, besides playing in that key, is voicing some of the power chords with the fifth below the root.
Right.
Okay, so the first time, it kind of ends with this. The second time, it ends with this. Okay, so what I'm doing there is just a little bit of a chromatic approach. It does get a little bluesy, like. Right. So it's a chromatic cadence up to the root. But instead of playing Hendrix, right?
Or who chords. Right?
Yeah, or who chords. What I do is I'm playing the power chord, but putting the fifth below the root. So you have more of a fourth interval here. That's a really heavy sound.
Yeah, it's just shrouded in darkness.
Yeah, exactly. So you're still getting the tonality of, what you're trying to have come across, which is this chromatic approach up to the root, which is bluesy.
Yeah.
In a heavier sound.
So what stops you, say, from applying sort of the same theory, and rather doing it on, say, your 7-string, you do it with the other guitar, which is tuned down to a C.
Right.
Is there? Do you think in those terms?
Yeah.
Or you just say like, that definitely needs a 7.
It's hard to describe, but there's something about the guitar having one more string, and maybe just having to do with the scale of the instrument, and then the tuning of that lower note below everything. It has a different quality to it, a different like throatiness than, let's say, I took a 6-string and tuned the lower strings down to the same, bottom strings here. It just doesn't sound the same. It is a character.
Sure.
There's a 7-string character.
Or I like to call it a timbre, right?
Yeah.
On the strings, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So cool. that definitely plays a role. One other interesting thing to point out, when you play a diminished scale like that, inherent in the scale, because of the way the notes are placed, there are all these diminished arpeggios within it, right? That basically they're easy to identify because there'll be like a minor third interval. Okay. So there's like one over here, and there's one over here. It's kind of like a combination of diminished intervals or minor third intervals. So you can see all those minor thirds. So when I'm playing the in-between chords, the first time I go, the second time, right? So when you play that under a B, you get a diminished arpeggio there. Again, a great way to get a dark sound.
Yes. Yeah.
Right? So if you listen to all the in-between chords, those are those little decisions when you're writing. Wait, should we go? Or should we go? Or should we go? Or should we go? Or should we go? There's like, and we'll have, major discussions over all those little movements.
Plus, you know, when you're thinking that dark, as far as, you know, and to me that's just always a guitar centric thing.
Yeah.
You have the, you know, the thing of having a keyboard player in the band.
Right.
So now you have to sort of balance, you have to inject that in, or balance, and how to balance that within the construct of what you're playing.
Exactly. And it's interesting, on the new record, we're really conscious about that as far as like orchestrating the songs, because one of the things we'll do a lot of times is we'll create some kind of heavy riff, and then Jordan will put a harmony above it, maybe with a pad sound, maybe with piano, maybe with organ. And it's a certain standard thing that we do. But on this record, we try to kind of a lot of times veer away from doing that and not take away from the heaviness of the riffs that were created. And so a lot of times he's doubling what I'm doing, or I'm doubling what he's doing, and it's creating this like larger, thicker sound, as opposed to like pulling away from that.
Kind of like a John Lord, Blackmore type of deal?
Exactly like that. And the other method that we do, which I'll describe on the next part, is where he's playing a counter line. So he's not playing my riff at all, and he's not playing some pads, but he's playing a line that's weaving in and out of that. And what we do is we play that together as a band, everybody playing it in unison, and then Jordan then takes that and plays it over the main riff.
Oh, wow.
Right? And what it does is, because the choruses kind of depart from the 7 feel and go into a more straight 4 feel. And so this section brings the triplet back, 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a, you know. We're back to that, which sets up. And so Jordan continues with that line over that.
Interesting.
So part of a writing technique that we use is like, how do we get from one feel, like a feel change, back into a different one? Or how do we set up one that's coming up? We foreshadow the riff to set up the feel that's about to come.
I see.
Right?
That's cool.
So what happens as a listener is you're not sure, but you're getting pulled into the next section.
Right.
They're kind of like going down a drain.
That's great.
There you have it.
Down the rabbit hole.
Yeah, that's right. Cool.
Cool.